So my name is Ben Charles Jr. I'm from the lower Elwha Clallam tribe, way up in Port Angeles, Washington. We're just a little tiny micro dot. That's where I'm enrolled in. Um, my father was a minister to the Nisqually tribe down south of Olympia, and I grew up there, so I didn't even grow up on my reservation. And so, honestly, Nisqually has been more. I've grown to know them more as a family, and I know that blood is strong in family. I don't deny any of that, but I also believe in chosen family. And I'm blessed with a lot of chosen family, just like you are to me, brother. In such a short amount of time. So in my life, I grew up doing since I was very young, 6 years old. I started working and paying for my family needs. My father was a minister, and so I was pretty determined early on in life. My sister had cerebral palsy and special needs, so my mom needed to to take the extra time with my sister, and so I was blessed to start off early doing, and because of that I know it probably led me down some not healthy roads, but it also made me the determined person that I am. And as soon as God kind of I was grappling with God, he got a hold of my life and helped me turn things around. So when I was 18, my parents moved to another country, and that's when my kind of descendants started in my life. I was always told when I was young, you're going to be a good leader. And I found out when my parents were gone and I needed to um, be taking care of more things on my own, that I branched off into very unhealthy things. And I found out I was a leader. I'm not saying I was a good leader, but I was a leader of sorts. And things grew quickly. And I continued to go down the rabbit hole. Um, During that time, definitely did things I wasn't proud of. Um, Made business dealings and things, and I was just really enthralled with the money. And some people say you shouldn't make things your God. Some people abuse different things in their life, and honestly, money was my substance, and money became my God. And then I had a good wake up call, and people thought that I hit rock bottom. And I said, I have yet to begin. And because I had run into some situations in my life, um, I I thought that I needed to continue even bigger and to make sure my family was taken care of. And so um, I remember the day. I just remember the day vividly. I was in a horrible, horrible situation. Um, and I prayed that prayer that I'm sure we all pray a million, 2 million times. And I said, Hey God, if you get me out of this, I'll, and I mean, we all pray that prayer at different times in our life. And I prayed that prayer. And lo and behold, I walked out of that situation unscathed. I got home. I went to one of my safes. I grabbed um, a burner phone, went to another safe, grabbed a chip for it, was going to put it in, and I literally went into an open-eyed vision. And I'm not saying I saw God, but I knew it was God. And we were sitting at a poker table. I don't gamble. I gambled with my life and I gambled with all sorts of other things, but I knew what it meant. And as I was sitting there, I all I saw were two hands and they just pushed everything in to the middle of the table. And all I heard was all in.
Wow.
And I sat there and I said, I have nothing. I don't even have lint in my pocket at this moment. I said, all I have is my measly life. And God, I just heard God vividly say, I'll take that. Just be all in. Well, I'd been all in with everything else I'd done. And so um, from that, from that aha moment, from that divine appointment, that delay right then, I was chose to be all in a different way in my life. And so I started um, I started having some awesome dreams and visions of things that I wanted to do, that I thought I was going to do. And the thing was, it just wasn't time. My time seemed to want to supersede what was needing to be the time because I needed to go through the threshing floor. No one wants to go to the threshing floor. Everybody goes, praise to God. Oh God, I want change. I want but are they willing to do what's necessary to get the job done in that not so comforting time? I would love to say that I thought it was going to be easy and I thought there were going to be good godly suddenlies. It was a number of years had gone by. I got through with the different things I was dealing with, and where I found myself was praying for what I envisioned that God was going to have in such a awesome way, just to replace what I had lost and fast forward to me to really not going through things. So I started going through things, and I almost started dropping into the why me. Now, I don't know if anybody else goes into the why me and starts thinking, well, all I have to do is go do this, and that would take 15 minutes, or this would make me feel better, or we always have those choices to resort back to. We always want to go back to familiar things. And so as I was going, I had said some things in my life. Be careful what you say never to. I told I just remember saying, I will never live downtown Olympia. I will never do this. I will never do that. So I had gone through, we we had actually given everything away, sold everything, and traveled across the country to support another ministry that we really didn't even know who they were. While we were there, had some wonderful experiences, met some wonderful people, and was blessed to have it placed on our hearts to give the last of our funding to a group. And I had no idea how we were going to get home. And I don't have to have those answers sometimes. It is challenging when you have other people with you and you have those questions being brought to you. Well, to say the least, in everyone says God is the 11th hour God. Now, Fred, I don't know if you've ever noticed it's 11:59 and 59 seconds sometimes. But what I do know is God showed up in the 11th hour, 11:59 and 59 seconds, and we got home. We were we were blessed to travel for the next 6 months, live in a tent. Very humbling. Not where I thought I was going to be going, because I thought, well, I have this much money and I have it buys me this much time. And so we all equate things to time. Time is money. And so when we after we were going through that, we were contacted by some folks, and they had said, well, we have a place that maybe you can stay, you and your family can stay. Come and look at it. And so we went and looked at it, and our friends called it the Hobbit Hole. So you went up around their house, around the back, and down the back into this little cave, if you will. Well, we walked in, and there was a little tiny one bedroom downstairs, mold infested, rat infested apartment.
Uh-oh.
And I looked at my wife, and she said, I think we can do this for a few weeks. And I said, I think it might be longer than that. You always, as I'm not saying men, I'm just saying sometimes people, the opposing person in the relationship has that feeling. It might be longer. She goes, don't speak the words because words are powerful. And so um, we ended up moving into that little place. And while we were there, there was just a massive, massive storm. Well, I had been going down to the streets in Olympia for probably the previous 2 years and doing just doing. I was meeting people where they were at. That's what we call it. We call it meeting people where they're at and loving the hell out of them. And so I was going down and handing out snacks. Sometimes I had um, 5 snacks. Sometimes I had 20 snacks, and I just prayed for divine appointments while I was down there. Well, I said my one of my things I said I would never help the homeless because they I was one of those helpful people that as people were flying their signs, I would drive by previous in life and I would holler, get a job.
Well,
Well, I never had one person look at their sign and look at me and go, I never thought of that. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And so when I started going down to the streets and handing out snacks and just not necessarily even preaching to anybody, I just met them where they're at. I loved them, encouraged them. And so as we were down in our little apartment, it was just a few blocks from downtown. I said again, I'd never lived downtown Olympia. Here I was handing out, meeting our street family. I don't even call them homeless. I call them our street family. And so, as I was going through this, there was a massive storm that came through, and I'd been doing things on Facebook for quite a while, and so I just posted on there and said, "Hey, we're going to be downtown feeding people if you want to join us." And so we went down. I was needing a shovel, snow to just for a little spot for our tent, and we were just a humble settings. Well, actually, we brought a borrowed tent. We didn't even have money for a tent. We borrowed a pop-up tent. I had a single 6-foot table and just some basic plastic utensils that I had saved from going to fast food restaurants and things over the time. And so we were just feeding. We fed one time. As we fed that one time, someone noticed, another person in ministry, and they said, I want to help. I went, okay. And she said, what do you want to serve? I said, well, I was going to serve um, hot dogs. And she said, okay. And I said, but the only thing is I don't necessarily have money. And she said, well, how many hot dogs do you need? And I said, phew, I don't know, maybe 200. And I said, but it wouldn't take much because I suppose there's the 8 for $1
hmm.
kind. And she said, I'm going to help you, but we are not serving 8 for $1 hot dogs. And it kind of baffled me. And she said, what other hot dogs are there? And I went, I don't know. So I went and found a place, kind of a wholesaler place, and they had Mariner hot dogs. They're just all beef hot dogs. That's what they sell at the Mariner games. And So I went, okay, well, our outreach is called Crazy Faith. So we're just going to be Crazy Faith and go. So I went and found the place and contacted her and said, Mariner dogs, they're all beef. They're right over here. And she goes, okay. And so she went and ended up helping pay for those that night. As I was standing there, I had kind of a some insight. Here I thought, well, if I could just get together like 40 bucks, I could have so many 8 for $1 hot dogs and hand those out. And as I was standing there looking at the folks, I just realized we never know when we will be entertaining angels.
Mm.
And I stood there and I looked at the folks. We were handing out the hot dogs, and I was just we hug people. And we're huggers. You're a hugger too, and so you know what that's like. And some people aren't huggers. And when I meet people, and I you can tell they kind of go, oh yeah, and they kind of give you this little tap tap, and I go, mean it. And I grab their hands, and so on the streets and on the reservations and at-risk youth that I work with and in the jails, it those hugs, those meaningful real hugs, they're worth $1 billion, brother. And so as I was standing there, I looked and I thought, you know what? If Jesus was walking through this line right now, I am so glad that this dear sister that blessed us, Paula Atano, she's moved now, but I am so glad that she put that challenge there, because I would hate to be standing there and Jesus come through the line and me go, hey Jesus, give me nucks, I got 8 for $1 hot dogs for you. I some people watching may go, well, hot dogs aren't very good, but I'd rather be able to say, hey Jesus, we brought our best. We brought our best, because we don't we you said when you do the least of these. And so we continued doing, and we fed for 5 nights. At the end of 5 nights, I thought, well, that was a good run. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the Holy Spirit kind of just he laughed, and so that's cute. And we started doing. I don't even know if we're doing it right. We've been feeding down on those same streets. We're going on 14 years now. We've since raised up a team. We've met all sorts of opposition over the years, and we keep on going. Because I went before where I shouldn't have. I went there willingly, and I was not going to take a no for an answer. And so God was with me in those not good times. And so when I'm going for God, I'm going to go until He says, don't darken the doorstep there ever again. Now, I haven't heard that. About 4 years into serving on the streets, the city of Olympia decided that it was inconvenient for us to be serving. And so they came to shut us down. And it became such a nuisance for them because I just kept feeding. Because remember, I said, God didn't tell me to not go. And they changed the laws to put me in jail for 90 days every time we fed, fined me $1,000 every time we fed. And I guess it's not a big issue for some people since we only fed 104 times a year. And and so I'm I'm just here today to tell folks, when you go all in with God, it may not be comfortable sometimes. He didn't say, I'm going to make things comfortable. You're going to feel good. You're going to have all the money. You're going to have all the time. You're going to have all the support and encouragement and love and equipment. You know what he did say? I'll be with you. That's I know that's some people going, well, that doesn't sound very comforting. And it may not in those moments, but he was with us and we continued. They changed the laws back to not put me in jail for 90 days at a time and fine me $1,000. I'm not crying a victory. I'm not trying to spark anything back up with the city of Olympia. But what I'm saying is we continued doing, we continued meeting people. When you meet folks on the streets, at-risk youth, in jails, on the reservations, we do bar ministry. I don't drink, but we do bar ministry. We meet people where they're at. And when you do that, the people there, you know what? They could care less if I knew how to spell the word Bible, but they care that I'm there. And then they care that we're taking the time. So we meet people, and some people want to come and serve with us sometimes, and they want to see immediate changes in people. Now, Fred, I know that we've discussed different things in our life, and I'm still being worked on. I'm still being refined, if you will. And I know it took me an immense amount of time. And I know people thought, well, maybe it should have taken a lot quicker time with me. And so when people come down to the streets or to different places with us and they want to just see immediate changes in people, I watch and I go, maybe we can find some place. And as I talk to them and encourage them, but as they're demanding immediate changes in people, I might want to try and help them find another place to serve in, because it takes time. And I would love to sit here, brother, and tell you the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that we get to see that are struggling with addiction, struggling with mental health, struggling um, with their finances and all the different pieces. I would love to testify that every single one of them is flourishing in every aspect of their life. The sad story is that they're not in my time frame.
Hmm.
I will sit here and testify. We have an immense amount of praise reports. Yeah, I call most of the folks on the streets my kids, and and a bunch of them call me dad. I've never asked one of them to call me dad, and I have folks on the street that are older than me calling me dad. And but what I'm blessed with is, as we are there, as we put in the time, just like the time that you put in not long ago, as you put in the time, you start to recognize changes. It may not be to the capacity that others feel, but when you are present, when you're there, and you take the time, and you are, like I said, present. I know I've had folks come down that needed to do hours of work for community service or different things. And they're there. And I love that. But are they present while they're there?
Ooh, that's such a difference.
There is a massive difference. I've done jobs where I didn't like my job and I went and did push the time clock, and um I made money doing that, but I didn't like being there. And it showed in my demeanor, not necessarily my work ethic, because I've always been a determined person on doing what I needed to do while I was there. But if you're just going to walk around moping or not being present, it it's noticeable. And trust me, our street family, my veterans, my bikers, the folks from the bar, the at-risk, all these folks that would come down, because a lot of the folks, they weren't street family. They just We were just there, and so they just came. We wanted to be a community. And so when they came, they noticed that we wanted to be there. They noticed the young people when they would be walking by and I'd point to them and go, "Hey, come here. Where have you been?" They noticed that we noticed that they weren't there. And so that is what's so powerful about when you're serving, whether it's at a shelter, on the streets, you're doing bar ministry, you're meeting with veterans, bikers, wherever it is, they notice and they appreciate. Now, they may not communicate it always the most effective way, um, but trust me, deep down, they definitely notice. Well, as we through these years of serving on the street with Crazy Faith outreach, we continued to branch out. We did men's and women's um, jail ministry at a local tribe, and they they actually shipped in from all over the state, folks, and we got to see people from all over, not just from the local tribe. We've been blessed to do numerous traveling ministries to help people start to go. Mark 16:15. If you have a red letter Bible, the first red letter word is go. Now, I'm not here to have a difference with folks about a four-wall setting, but I want to encourage folks to go. Now, are you called to, um, my dear brother Fred works with veterans. Are you called to veterans? Are you called to jails? Or are you called to helping folks get out of being trafficked? Are you called to the biker gangs? Are you called to or biker clubs, sorry, um, to the bars? Are you called to these places? You may not be, but where can you go? You're going already.
Yeah.
Once you raise your hand and say, "Hey God, forgive me, help me not to do the things that don't make you happy, or I'm just going to keep on doing them." I don't know what see in my life you see something, so you can take it and do whatever you want. Once you say that, you're in full-time ministry, whether you want to believe it or not. God takes you as you are. Um, I haven't been to seminary. I don't have a certificate that says that did things for 4 years. But what I do know is that God uses the least likely for the Almighty. And I'm one of those. I'm the least likely. And I'm praying that as I continue, he can utilize me for the Almighty by just simply meeting people where they're at, encouraging them, speaking life into them, hugging them, being available, being present in the moment. Brother, I know you've done a tremendous amount of work with veterans, folks that have been struggled with addiction and things. Um, and I want to thank you for that. In Northwest Native Territories, we say we raise our hands to you to say thank you and we bless you. And I raise my hands to you, brother, for taking that time, for allowing yourself to be delayed. I call it delayed, not denied. I may be not a very good example of being everywhere on time, because if I'm flying by down the road and it's raining and there's someone on the side of the road that has a flat tire or needs a job, I'm pulling over and I'm allowing myself to be delayed. And I know you do too, brother. And time, things have become so warp speed. Teenagers nowadays, if this doesn't download a 3 hour movie in like 20 seconds, they're throwing it out the window.
Yep.
Boy, you you're a computer guy. Remember back in the day, the black screens with the green green letters?
I do.
Or the Oregon Trail game where you're shooting the deer and it's all do 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 across. Boy, they would have not had very good time back then with us and computers. I mean, you have gone through the gamut with all the different pieces and computers, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, up to the point where I was hanging out with aliens with keywords, and these guys are so far ahead of the curve that make even the Google Trends, they're even beyond that these days. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
I couldn't even imagine.
you said a lot, brother, and I definitely want to honor this conversation because it is truly a big conversation for me. And I receive everything that you're saying, and I know the people who are listening to this receive everything you're saying. It's needed and wanted out here. And to your point earlier, like meeting people where they're at,
Yeah.
I believe this is what's missing in the world today. And it took me to be out of the game for so long to see it.
Yeah.
And it is as obvious as the nose on your and my faces, but we have other things in the way, this thing called the phone, where other people can't see the problem.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where, to your point, even with me and my struggles with addiction, it was one of those things where I was embarrassed about it because
Mhm.
I thought I was the only one, and it's just
Yeah.
why me? And to your point, when you get chosen like that, and I didn't share my story much as far as how I nearly almost died 3 times in the desert in the Arabian Gulf, and it was like, well, this sucks,
Yeah.
and I had on my dog tag, no preference, and there's no atheists in combat, man. And I said, to your point, 11:59 and 59. I'm yours, whatever it takes, I'm good. And my life did transform from that point. And the thing that I experienced was isolation. So I was hermetically sealed for such a long time, just traveling around talking to high level business earners, like 7 to 10 figures. I'm like, how did I even get here? I went from like doing door to door sales to learning this insane knowledge base to working with the creme of the creme for 20 years. And then it was like I hit this wall. And I was
Yeah.
telling Amy this yesterday, like I hit this wall, and it was like I slid down the wall 200 miles an hour. It was complete whiplash. And I had dinner with Taylor Welch. You may not know who he is, but he used to run a company called Traffic and Funnels. So we were sitting down and we were having dinner, and I told him my story. He was just like, "Bro, you've got whiplash."
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had whiplash at the time. That's how astute his observation was, right?
Yeah.
So I was just that glib and that not in the game to even know that it's like what my chiropractor says. Like you can get so injured to the point where the pain just it's still there,
Yeah.
but it's like your body has adjusted, and even helping people get through withdrawal, that's a phenomenon. That's a real phenomenon. It's like you
Yes.
like, oh my God, like you've been in a car accident. Like it feels like I've been in a car accident. It's like, oh yeah, like this is because we tend to over like rotate. And
Yeah.
that's what I did for such a long time due to my personal trauma. And I had no idea that I was in it. And just like you said, slowing down and that art of really being there and like being present
Yes.
is so important because you understand why success is simple. Like it is to do it properly requires 100% focus and attention. That's why I'm speaking to you. That's why you're speaking to me. That's why we're like having a real conversation.
Yeah.
And these are rare. And it should not be this rare in the world. And as a result of that, to me, that communication erosion is what's causing a lot of the problems today, combined with the learned helplessness, the engineered ignorance,
Yeah.
malicious intent. And you see this whole concoction of this formula of like life, life in quotation marks, being designed for you to lose. It's a rigged game. And I want to be able to stack those odds in our favor. And it's possible. Here's my theory, and I'm going to shut up because I
Oh,
really am thankful for what you're saying. I often have people like even 4 years ago when I first started doing this podcast, I had to shut it down for several reasons. I almost got kicked off of all the platforms. It was extremely controversial at that time.
Yep.
But the way that my mind works was such a unique algorithm that they couldn't kick me off. I was very close. Like I went to counsel a few times and that's not fun. And I'm just like, I need to be present and be still. And some of the people me and you both know cannot get on these social media platforms.
Right.
But
Yep.
that's how important I knew if I was to just be still, then that too would pass. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing
Yes.
because I was in observation mode. And people
Mhm.
like, well, well, we need you over here talking on Twitter. We need you over. I'm like, nope. Ready, aim, fire.
Yes.
And had I not gotten out of my own fog of my addiction, had I not gotten out of my own fog of prayers essential to me,
Hmm.
really having God wrap his arms around me, I don't know where I would be today. So when we first connected, I was still skidding in sideways into the fight. And then along come you, and along come Denise. Hey, how you doing? Ta-da! It's like one of
That
the
was a
most
great divine appointment right there.
100%. But I had to be there in order to receive and experience that, and also be in that moment in my life where I'm looking for real people who really do things and they really help people and they like just don't talk about it. Like they're investing their time, their energy, their money, their effort, whatever they have at that time,
Hmm.
because it's a Swiss Army knife to me of ways that you can support people.
Yeah.
And just to be able to get into that frame of thinking, to me, meeting you at that time in my life was priceless. So thank you for receiving me as well. And I really am honored and thankful to receive the blessings from you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
but it was an honor to meet you and your wife and to be able to spend those moments with you and connect. And folks, if you have not met my dear brother in person, I'm telling you, take the time, and also just a massive praise report for my brother. He is present and he is a wonderful listener. He's not just listening, he actually hears what you're saying. And so that was a very much of a blessing to connect with you and your lovely bride.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to get a little bit more into like why you do what you do. Like, I please walk us through the mindset. How has it affected you? What was the outcome? What's still the outcome? Like what is driving you? What is this urge to continue moving in this direction and you're still flourishing and prospering right now? You're seeing this full cycle. I call it personally priming the well. I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
term, but it's like, my grandfather in North Carolina, like that was some of my favorite moments with him. Like we had a hog farm and he go, Freddie, go grab the water. I grabbed this liter bottle and it's dry. And he's like, I want you to, he's pumping, I want you to pour the water in. And next thing you know, it's this gusher and he's pumping
Yeah.
slower now. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's how I feel like these relationships are from a deep level because they're very value driven in comparison to what's currently out there, the noise in the marketplace. So,
Right.
and it is a marketplace because either we're getting sold something or we're selling something,
Yep.
and that's my bias. I'm not too biased on a few things, but just from what I know, it's all crafted for us to lose. So, how have you been able to still pivot, and what drives you, and what inspires you? Like, please.
Well, we were I started doing some studying. We were a nonprofit, well, we are a nonprofit, but as I was doing some studying, we were paying for all of the equipment, all of the food, everything out of our own pocket. And we primarily still do because as I was looking at things, I grabbed this first book on nonprofits, and it said there's small, medium, and large nonprofits. And as I started reading, it said everything you'll need to know. It said a small nonprofit brings in um, $1 to $10 million a year. And I laughed. I said, we must be a micro speck of a nonprofit. um, because we we were just doing. And why? Because it was we saw a need. And like I said, brother, I don't even know if we're doing it right. We're just doing. We started with um the very first ones feeding out of the back of our truck. Then we borrowed a tent, and we started doing. And as we went, I added stuff. We had helpful people come and volunteer that would break our stuff. We would have sometimes our street family would borrow things forever, and we were blessed with all these opportunities. And we're not a grant baby, so we don't even have one church that support us, and that's okay. You know who does support us? Some of our biggest tithers are from our street family, the folks that we're serving. There was one elderly gentleman. He would he would get off the bus. We were set up right by the bus station, and I'd see him. He'd come walking across, and he'd always come walking over, and he'd go, "Who's in charge of this outfit?" And I remember the first time I met him, I said, "Me." And he looked at me up and down in all my glory, and he goes, "You?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Well, then I guess this is for you." And he was kind of old school. He reached in, pulled out this envelope, and handed it over. And I went, I said, "Oh, no, sir, everything is this not we charge a smile or a hug. And if you don't have one of those, we'll give you one." So I go, "Everything and nothing doesn't cost you anything here." He goes, "No, I'm here to give my tithe." Well, he came down a number of months, and as he was coming down each month, he he said, "I'm here to tithe." And you know what crushed me the most? His tithe was $11. He got $110 from Social Security. He was, and as I was sitting there, I couldn't, man, I knew what it was like growing up, but I found it hard to believe that he was taking $11, which doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people. But if that's 10% of all the money you're getting in the month, that's a lot. And so he continued to come down. And every time he'd come down, stand next to me, "Who's in charge of this outfit?" I go, "Me and all my glory." And he'd hand me $11. Well, a few years ago, he stopped coming down, and I've been praying for him because he was coming down less and less. Um, and I wasn't worried about the $11, brother. I we'd built a relationship over that time. And so I know I know I always would give him a little something to take with him to go home. And I know that he needed those little extra things that I sent with him. But I also know that he is one of the million reasons that we continue doing what we're doing. There are young kids. There's one young man. Um, I just saw him the other day walking down the road. His mom had heart issues. His little sister, he has an older brother, um, and his mom was not doing well and struggling in so many ways. His stepdad was not very gracious to him. He was, well, he was a half breed like me, and so his stepdad was not very gracious to him. I saw him not long ago. It was about a year ago, and he was working. He came out, he brought, actually, I was doing a goofy um, live video at Sonic. They had dill pickle Slurpees. And so I was doing just a goofy video. And so we had rode our Harleys in, me and my buddy and our wives. And this young man came walking out. And I go, Dylan? He's like, hey, Dad. I went, how are you doing? He goes, I'm doing good. I don't come down anymore downtown. I said, I know, I noticed. He said, I got a job. I'm a manager. I own a house. My brother rents from me. And I went, oh my goodness. The Dylans are just another reason that we do so many things. Not that I need to hear the praise reports, but that I get to hear praise reports sometimes. Because like yourself, when we're helping folks, we may never really see the outcome. But every now and then, God will give us just a little glimpse of a praise report from someone. I love to see people, and I always say, hey, share a praise report with me. When I do videos, live videos on the streets, I go, hey, tell me something good that's happened. And so these are why we do them. Um, you know, I can share other things. One of my dear brothers that was serving on our team, um, he struggled with some things in his life, and then he fell back in with a bad crowd, and it cost him everything. And from that, he crossed over and passed away. His son was doing wonderful and had a baby and was working and had a car and things, and catastrophically went down a not good way, and he's crossed over too, still stuck in those things. So I know that there are not good stories that you and I can share across the board, but those are still the reasons that we're doing what we're doing. Not that we have to, because we get to. I tell my team, any team that I have, workers or whether it's serving on the street or wherever we're at, I tell folks, if you are tired of spending time with us, all you have to say is, uh, I have to go to street feed tonight, or I have to be here tonight. And I'll go, oh, no, take some time. Take some time, go rest, take care of your family, do whatever you need to do. And because I want people around me and you to say, I get to, I don't have to. Because, brother, you have a million things going on in your life. And what you spent doing not long ago, there's only about 7.9 billion different things you could have been doing. That a lot of people were probably telling you, you have to do this, and this. But when you were in that time, you were still present, and you were telling that person, I don't, I get to be here with you in these moments. And and so if that's something that folks can just start to recalibrate in their thought process, because oh, I'm telling you, there are nights, brother, over the years when it is windy, stormy. There's threats coming at us that people are going to come down and shoot us, and all sorts of crazy things that sometimes you're thinking in your head, boy, it'd kind of be nice to not be on the streets tonight.
Somebody else.
But what I get to do is I get to be there. And when I open up, I tell folks, welcome to Crazy Face Street Feed. We're going to be here, rain, shine, tsunami, tornado, whatever it is, we get to be here. And that's where we need continue to work on our mindset. Because if we just start doing without working on our soul wounds, the challenge is we are ministering from our wounds, our hurts. And it's not that we're not effective. When I talk to a lot of my team, I go, continue working on your inner healing and our mindset, because I want you to be more effective. I want to be a person of words. So I'm not telling them that they're not effective. I want them to work on those pieces in their life so they can be more effective. And that's the key of I'm praying that I'm working on too. So when I'm talking with folks, I pray that they never feel that I'm preaching at them. I'm preaching to me, and if the fallout, someone else gets something, hallelujah. um, so we get to be there. We get to go to the jails. We get to go do bar ministry. We get to go to the streets and reservations and work with at-risk youth. We get to help folks get out of being trafficked. Um, and the only thing that I wish, this is the only thing I wish, not for more money, not for more equipment, not for more places for people to stay, not for socks, not for blankets. I pray that there's just more time.
Mm.
That's the most precious thing that we can have is time. So when people are sitting and going, well, I'll allow myself to be delayed tomorrow, or I'll give $5 to clear my conscience here tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the next 0.2 seconds, let alone tomorrow. So even when you just take those moments for those divine appointments, those blink of an eye moments, you know what? It could just, I call it, I say I do drive-by prayers. I don't do drive-by shootings anymore. I do drive-by prayers. I drive by and, Lord, I don't know what's going on with Fred, but be with him where he's at, and encourage him. Bring people in his life that can speak life into him. Have a divine appointment where he can be a light to someone along the way as well. So it's just those short, sharp, direct prayers that you can do as you go along. So it doesn't have to be um, a massive nonprofit. People can do, maybe people are better at praying than being present on the street. Maybe people are better at, who knows, maybe someone's better at blessing and funding rather than being present. I don't know all the answers, but but doing with what you have, when you have it, when it's placed in front of you, is the biggest key. Because the problems out here that people are dealing with, they're not going away. They're actually growing. More people are being more affected by it because unfortunately, um, the circle just continues to grow bigger and bigger and bigger with all of the things that people are dealing with. And so if we don't do something, people go, well, if we don't do anything, nothing will happen. I don't believe that. If we don't do something, the same crap is going to keep happening. It's going to get bigger and worse. And so start doing. When people come down to street feed now, I'm not even saying we're that cool. We keep it very humble settings. We serve in an alley. We bring in our own tents. We pop up. I have good tents now. We pop up tents. We set out tables in the front and the back. We have food warmers. We bring the food out, and we serve right there. We clean up the whole parking lot. We bring all the extra garbage with us. But some people come down and go, well, I don't have a box truck. I don't have all these tents. I don't have, I go, I good. Do something that you can do. One, we were serving twice a week on a Thursday and Saturday nights. And I needed to have some surgery on my leg. And like yourself, once I get my grimies on something, taking a pipe and beating my hands isn't going to work. I mean, you're going to have to saw my fingers off to get me to let go. And so, um, the doctor, when he was going to do my surgery, he said, I'll do the surgery if you do the recommendations that I'm of the of things after your surgery. If you're not able to commit, actually, he used my own words. He goes, I was watching a video and a guy challenged me or was making a challenge and said, all you have to do is be all in.
Hmm.
He goes, if you can be all in with your recovery, I'll do the surgery. If not, there's other surgeons that can do the stuff. And I go, don't use my own words against me. And he goes, I have to. And so what had happened was I was just struggling and I was praying. I was like, Lord, what do I do with Saturday night? And this is exactly the answer I got. I don't know if you ever got this answer, but when I prayed, I was like, Lord, what should I do about Saturday night? And this is the answer I got. Nothing.
That part right there.
And I sought good counsel. And they said, it might be time. So with a broken heart, I remember the last Thursday night that I said, this next Saturday is going to be our last Saturday. We're going to be serving down here on the streets downtown Olympia. Well, about a month later, I was downtown serving on Thursday night, and someone came up and said, hey, Chief, I want to thank you that um, I want to thank you for what you ended up doing for Saturday. I said, oh, we're not doing Saturday dinners anymore. They said, no, because you weren't here, other people saw that you weren't here and they started doing Saturday lunch. And I had to sit there for a moment and I went, thank you, Lord, that I got to remove what I thought was needing to be done so that someone else can step forward and continue doing. So sometimes we're blessed to get out of the way. And I tell you, brother, it felt like a massive failure for me at the moment. But when I heard that, I needed to remember it wasn't all about me. It's about others because our job, mine and yours, is to raise people up and release them. And so I love to share that, but was I modeling it?
Hmm.
And so because of that, we other people were raised up and released. Since then, we've raised an awesome team up and released them to continue doing different pieces on the streets. And that was challenging too. But one thing I do remember, two of my leaders for Thursday night, one of them said, "You know what I really appreciate is that when you released this to us, you weren't just sitting there micromanaging us. You allowed us to do." And she said, because I was worried because your style is so different than ours. And when she goes, but you're so different than I am in different ways. And she goes, I remember what you said. You said, well, good. You'll probably do it better. And she said, I didn't believe that, but you allowed us to go through this. And so when we are able to grow to a certain point, raise people up and release them, they can be just as effective, if not more than effective than we are. And I'm grateful that God has cleared my spiritual lenses to see that in other people. Have they made mistakes? Yes. Has it cost in different ways? Yes. Are they present? Are they helping people? Are lives being changed because they're there? Yes. And that's what's worth it. Um, so there's a million stories I can testify about um, with helping folks in the jail, people on the street, at risk youth, um, getting people out of being trafficked. And we could testify about just praise report stories from all those things for a decade. And they're so powerful. And just thinking of them, it makes me it makes me almost weep because I love that we get to see some of those pieces for people, the victories. There was a young lady um, one time in jail, women's church, and she said, "Hey, Chief, every time she goes, I set a date, 30 days. Every time I get to 30 days, I mess it up. I fall off the wagon." She goes, then they tell me, well, maybe you should set a date for 60 days. She goes, so I make it 60 days. Then I fall off the wagon. Then they said 100 days. So I made it 100 days. I fall off the wagon. She goes, what am I going to do? Now, this isn't probably what most people would share. Um, I don't think I'm normal in a lot of ways, but I told her, I said, so you need a time frame, honey? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, it sounds like you need a time frame. I said, so what's your choice of extracurricular? She goes, extracurricular. I go, what sort of drugs do you like, honey? She goes, oh, yeah, yeah. Meth. I said, okay. Do you snort it? Do you smack it? Do you smoke? What do you do? She goes, that's what I generally do. Well, I'm scared to death of needles myself. I'm not a very good patient when it comes to needles, even. Um, but I said, okay, I'll make you a deal, honey. I'll tell you what, 99 years. She goes, what? I said, 99 years. What are you talking about? I said, 99 years. If you need a time frame, 99 years. You make it 99 years, I'll tell you what, then I'll cook it up and we'll smack it together. How about that? She goes, are you, this really is crazy faith. What, are you crazy, Chief? And she goes, wait a second. Hold on. Not, how old are you, Chief? And at that time, I was 45 years old. She goes, you'll be 144 years. You're not even going to be alive. I said, no, honey, but you need a time frame. And so if you need a time frame, I said, we'll be in eternity. Well, there'll be a lot of better things to do there than worrying about this, but you keep your time frame. I said, but honey, I want to tell you this, and I tell all my kiddos this. Downtown is not a healthy place to be. My prayer for you and you, Fred, and for all you watching is a healthy distance between the people and things that aren't good for you. And downtown's not good for you, honey. She left. Now, when I don't see my kids for a long time, I do get nervous. I didn't see her. So I was up in my big ugly box truck unloading tents, and I'm unloading a tent, and I look out, and here comes this young lady. And I look at her. I drop the tent. I jump down. I go walking over, I gave her a big old hug. I said, honey, how are you doing? She said, 98 years, Dad.
Wow.
I went, it's been a year. She goes, I've made it a year clean. So 98 more years. I said, okay. I said, but honey, I'll walk you across the street right now to the bus. Downtown is not a good place for you to be. I walked her across, gave her a hug, paid for her bus. She she left. The next year, I'm loading, I'm doing stuff, and I turn around and see her. She goes, 97 years, Dad. I'm going to get on the bus, though. It's not good for me to be here. Well, brother, I'm 53 now. And so we're on 8 years. So she has 92 more years. So I don't know if people need to work with a time frame. If your time frame is not working for you on the 30, 60, 100 days, 1 year, whatever your reward is, a lot of times people seem to buckle in those moments and they don't know why. I don't have the answer for why. I don't have a formula for any of this stuff. But what I want to share with you is if you're struggling in that 99 years, 99 years, and Fred and I will both be there with whatever it is. You add whatever it is, and we'll be there. But if you need to keep in your mind a time frame, we offer that. You know why? Because you're of value and you're worth it. You have you were created for such a time as this, and those things that are we're struggling with, they're distractions. And when we start with when we're doing something, when we start with a distraction, it just starts to go like this, and then it causes division. That's that's what it all starts with a distraction. Whether it's someone looking at someone that they're not supposed to be with, whether it's a substance, whether it's money, whether it's time, whatever it is, was if it's a distraction, it ends up bringing you farther away from all that God has for you. And I just remember long time ago, doesn't seem like it now, but I used to smoke cigarettes. And I had a saying, people go, man, you need to really cut back on smoking. I had a very ugly thing that I'd say I'd stop smoking, but I go right back and I had some horrible things that I would say. And people go, oh my gosh. And I just remember one time I had come back to the Lord and I thought, I can have a cigarette if I want. And I hadn't smoked, but I thought I can because I choose to. I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. And I just remember picking one up one time and I was just reaching and I looked at that and all I heard was that's a mighty small thing to come in between you and all God has for you. And I snapped it and tossed it away. So I don't know what is a mighty small thing to come in between you and all God has for you that you're struggling with as you're watching this. It can it can seem like a big thing, but compared to what God has for you, it's a mighty small thing. So my prayer is that you have the strength and determination that you had in everything else in your life that wasn't healthy to make those transitions. Now it's going to take time, effort. You need to have a healthy distance between the people and things that aren't good for you because as they cause a distraction, it causes division. And that's not how heaven sees you. I'm not here to pistol whip you with anything, but if that's the roughest thing that I say to you, that's not how heaven sees you. I pray you receive it with love. because that's what I tell all my kids on the street. I always point to them and I go, "Hey, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. I go, how you doing, kiddo?" And I go, before you answer, are you before you answer good, is it the good that I would be saying? They're like, "Ah." And I go, no, 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 come here. I love you. I'm proud of you. But that's not how heaven sees you, kid. And people come up, oh, Chief, don't say that. I just shot up and I go, come here. I love you and I'm proud of you again. Do I tell you enough? And they sit there and I go, I'm going to keep telling you then. So they may not be through their stuff, but they don't need me bringing guilt, shame, and condemnation. They have enough of that they bring with themselves. I don't have to agree with their choices and actions either, but I can choose to love them where they're at. And I know that Fred does too. He chooses to love people where they're at. I generally don't have any answers for these folks most often, but I guarantee you, I pray they can't leave there not knowing that they're loved, even if we have a difference, because in those moments, sometimes people have a difference with you. They'll say very ugly things to you. And I go, I don't know. I go, come here, give me a hug. I love you. I'm proud of you. So, whatever you do, folks, just go and be you. My way of going is with love. Fred's way of going is with love. That's who we are, though. Maybe you have, but have love interlaced in there. And as God continues to work on you, your hurts, your mindset, He clears your spiritual lenses to see people how heaven sees them. You tune your spiritual hearing aids to hear God speak. You will continue to grow in that loving way that's going to create change in the environment where you're at. That's all that's needed. I don't have many formulas, but that's a one big formula right there. So
Yeah, and 100%, Chief. I love you, man.
I love you too.
You mean the world to me, and I love the way that you just, man, this is powerful. I really appreciate you just so much for taking your time, and give Denise and the kids a big hug for me, because
I sure will.
you're truly uh interplanetary treasure. you're just on you're just on such a next level, because again, people need to hear this. This is what's wanted and needed. And it's like, to your point, I mean, I've been this insane achiever in life, right? But a lot of it came from trauma. I just happen to channel it a lot differently. I mean, people don't even have to believe a word I say. In my conspiracy theory days, you can easily go onto the CIA website and they already have it mapped out. They've got a whole lot of money. They might actually know what they're talking about. They just might know. So, for the other people on the other side of the coin, and this is the reasons why I hate's a strong word with me, but I hate sometimes the way marketing and advertising is designed. They like go, it's not your fault. And it's like, I really mean it. Chief really means it. It's not your fault. Like, for real.
Right.
Like, this whole thing has been engineered,
Yeah.
period. And that's why I talk about I have a program called Above the Matrix, just for that reason. It's just like, look, there's a line that's hard that me and Chief are in. Like, we're helping people make that transition. Like, you're 99 years. Oh, wow. For real. I'm just like, man, that's so genius. But we're in that line because we see what can happen. They can fall below that line, or we can elevate them, like you said, release them. We're releasing them up. I'm taking eagles who are crash landing, and we're just dusting them off and stitching them up, and very powerful and capable people, because you're powerful and capable. You just like kind of don't know where to put that energy, so to speak, right? It's
Right.
just like you may be missing a tool, or you
Yeah.
got wrong information, or there's something that you understand or you misunderstand, or like there's some type of illiteracy there, right?
Yep.
It's a very simple, finite amount of reasons why. But for me personally, my truth is what I saw people were lacking was, and this is a big thing for me to say, one word: purpose.
Yeah.
No matter how much money they had, no matter where they were at in life, it boiled down to purpose.
Amen.
I mean, even with some of the most capable minds, still, I mean, look at the late John Belushi as an example.
Mhm.
Struggle. I mean, it's just a whole but it's endless examples out here
Yeah.
where people think that you're happy. Like even listening to my voice, I'm just like, guys, like I was professionally trained to speak like this, but I'm like not okay here. It's
Yeah.
I need help. It's like, hey, this isn't everybody ought to worry about Fred. It's like, no, you're gonna have to worry about me because nobody's worried about me, and that's the
Right.
problem. And when you just acknowledge people just like you did by just giving them the hug, even when they're in the middle of it, that is just so epic
Yeah.
because we all need that, like, period.
Mhm.
It really is that human connection that we need. And thank you so much for the way that you show up and actually embody that, because that is the key. If we can just embody these humanistic principles that have literally been, they're starting to pull away at our society right now, and it affects a lot of stuff. I mean, you're really getting to a hard line, have and have not here for real.
Yeah.
And it's just like I've never sold my soul and I'm not about to start. So it's just like, okay, look, we can do something about this, guy. Something can be done about it. And I'm so
Right.
thankful that you're in the field with me. We're locking arms because I'm just wired this way. I'm not even trying to, like, it's just like I like to talk to people. I like to help. And if there's a problem, we can possibly fix it. It's just like, but some people don't even have that kind of access, bro. That's one of the
Right.
reasons why I'm just like I just listen into what we're saying, and
Yeah.
the true achievers come see us because Chief is you're a beast, man. I love you, man. Just tell us a little bit more about what you've got going on and how people can support the cause and the mission and the vision that you have, because your mind's eye is truly brilliant, and I thank you so much for giving me your precious time today.
Anything, anytime, brother. That's I'll pray that it's not just wordsmithing on that, but I mean it. Anything, anytime for you, anything you need, brother. Um, well, honestly, Crazy Faith is just a small little dot. That's our one of our outreaches. We've been blessed to continue to um, start a construction business for my son. I'm raising him up to do that. Crazy Faith is we have we're just on Facebook. We're not even cool enough to have a website. We had our website.
Hold on for a second. He don't know who he's really talking to.
Our website just um, directs it to my Facebook page, and so and it's we're just under Crazy Faith, or you can email us at iamcrazyfaith@gmail.com. That's imcrazyfaith@gmail.com. You can send prayer requests. You can sometimes in the moments you don't have, it's just so overwhelming. You don't have enough. Even if all you email is just the letter P for prayer, we're on it. I don't have, I mean, if you choose to share, that's wonderful. If you don't have, if it's just in those moments and all you can get out is, my God knows all the details. And my job is just to partner with you, to pray with and for you, to kick it up to the Lord upstairs, because he doesn't even need me praying, but I get to partner with you. And so those are the ways. Periodically I'll do a live video on my Facebook page from Street Feed, and we go around and collect praise reports. Sometimes we have to get off the live feed. Things happen on the street, and um, every street feed's the exact same but totally different. Some of you that are called to that area will understand what that means. If that gets confusing, it may not be a spot for you then,
Yeah,
because
brother.
um, things happen and happen quick. But those are a couple ways that you can get a hold of us. We feed every Thursday night, 6 o'clock. We were doing Thanksgiving and Christmas. When we started doing Thanksgiving and Christmas, no one was doing it. Now there are dozens of places, and I'm proud to say that dozens of places are doing that. And so um, I tell my team, I go, well, you're fired for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll hire you the next Thursday. And so because our team has started when no one was doing it, and now people are, our team is available to go serve somewhere else or serve their family at home. So lots more we could share, brother. I'm thankful that you allowed me to share the time that I got to share, and I hope that this is helpful to someone. And those of you that are watching, I'm praying for you. I'm praying um, direction, direction, direction. Notice my wording. I didn't say understanding. I said for direction, good godly direction. Um, if you trip over some understanding along the way, hallelujah. If not, keep taking God's direction. So, well,
Awesome.
again, thank you, brother, for your time. And I look forward to just keeping in contact and with you and randomly texting you and harassing you more often.
Well, I love you too, brother. Much love. And just stay on for a second, guys. Appreciate you coming through for Mind's Eye Podcast. You're getting a real flavor of what this is really about. I mean, we are out here. We really want to just take what we know and just serve others to the highest level. This is what it's really about. So thank you so much, T, for coming through. Stay by for a little bit. And guys, we will chat soon. Again, please like, share, subscribe. And if you really feel compelled to just reach out and you have another message like Chiefs, just let me know and we'll be more than happy to talk with you. So chat soon, ladies and gentlemen. Take care for now. Bye.